All right, let's get into this. Sometimes the most fascinating stories come from the most unexpected places. Today, we're diving into a source I guarantee you've never thought of as a history lesson, the website for a local drain cleaning company. But trust me, this goes so much deeper than just pipes. Everything starts with a problem we've all had, that sinking feeling when the water won't go down, a backed up drain. It's pretty much a universal headache, right? And that really brings us to the big question for today. I mean, seriously, what can a plumber's website really tell us about the history of a town? Can it actually unpack the social fabric of the place it serves? Well, we're about to find out. So our source takes us to Glencoe, Illinois, a village just north of Chicago. And it points out something pretty practical. The homes there are getting older, the weather's getting wilder, and that means having a good plumber on speed dial is more important than ever. Makes sense. So as you'd probably guess, the website kicks off by offering very straightforward, modern solutions for these everyday problems. It gives you the kind of solid advice you're looking for. Make sure they're licensed and insured, check the reviews, get everything in writing, and see if they stand by their work with a warranty. This is just standard, good-to-know stuff. And it even gives you some tips so you can hopefully avoid calling them in the first place. Use drain catchers, don't pour grease down the sink, get your old pipes inspected. It's all super helpful and totally normal for a plumber's website. But then, right when you think you've seen it all, the source takes this incredibly sharp turn. We're about to go way beyond the drain pipe. Because as the site itself makes clear, this story isn't actually about pipes. Not really. Nope, it's about the deep, complicated history of the very town those pipes run underneath. It's about the foundation of Glencoe itself. And all of a sudden, this website for drain service transforms into something like a historical document, laying out the blueprint of how this community was built, starting with its amazing architecture. And we're not talking about just any old buildings. Glencoe is home to the third largest collection of Frank Lloyd Wright structures in the world. That's incredible. We're talking 7 houses and even a bridge, all designed by the legend himself, all in one single neighborhood. And Wright was in good company. The source lists off a whole roster of famous architects from that era who also designed homes in Glencoe. So right from the get-go, you get this picture of a very deliberately planned, very wealthy community. But just like any old plumbing system, if you look a little deeper, you find more complex, hidden layers to the story. And believe it or not, this plumber's website goes there, into Glencoe's buried history. This timeline, which comes right from the source, lays out some really key moments. The village is founded in 1869. Then, in 1920, something major happens. The homes of Black and Italian residents are condemned to make way for a park. Just 1 year later, Glencoe passes the very first zoning code in the entire state. And then, it's another 20-plus years before a court has to force the village to integrate its beaches. So how did they take that land for the park back in 1920? They used a legal tool called eminent domain. As the website explains, it's basically the government's right to take private property for a public project, as long as they provide compensation. And now look at this chart. It shows the demographic shift that happened over the next several decades. In 1920, Glencoe had an African-American population of 676, but by the year 2000, that number had fallen to just 176. The source also highlights a 1940 land use plan, which is largely still in effect today, that officially zoned Glencoe as a place for single-family homes with absolutely no industry. Okay, so let's bring this all back. What does all this history have to do with drain cleaning and sewer lines? What are these pipes actually revealing? Well, the source connects the dots in a really brilliant way. It shows how the town was originally built, with these beautiful homes intentionally designed around a new railroad stop. And now, today, it's going through another phase of intentional design, where smaller homes are being torn down for massive new ones. So the big takeaway is that all these modern fights over things like historic preservation and property taxes, they're not new. They're echoes of the town's very foundation. And that leads us right here to the core idea. The physical stuff that makes a town run, the pipes, the sewers, the roads, it isn't just functional, it's a map. It's a physical record of a town's history, its priorities, and the people it was built for. Which really leaves us with one last question to think about. The next time you see a construction crew digging up a street, or you just think about the old pipes running under your own house, ask yourself, What stories are buried down there? What can the infrastructure of my own community tell me about its hidden past?